Hello, everybody. My name is Jack the Hack, the ultimate copycat of myself. If you hear an echo, I am currently in a comically large room. It's a study room. I actually had to move recently for the summer, uh, but the new place is pretty cool. I'm gonna enjoy the next 8 months here, but that's sort of besides the point. New place means new topics. Now, I don't think I've discussed Cookie Run Kingdom on this channel yet. I don't think. Most likely I haven't, because I haven't really been uploading a lot. A little more recently, but uh, yeah. Before we get started with what I really want to talk about, which you could probably see in the title, but just bear with me for a second, I just want to say thank you for the support you guys have given me. You guys have given me for 5 years now, because on this channel I've actually reached 5 years on this channel. This channel has been alive for 5 years as of May 23rd, because my first video, the channel was created on May 23rd, but a couple hours later at like midnight, that was when the first video came up, which is just the old intro. And then later on at like 8, that's when the Mario video went up. But the 24th was still the day that I really got my start on YouTube. Not really, because I've been on YouTube for like over 10 years. Uploading for 9, about to be 10, which that's actually really crazy. But the fact that we're here, I made some mistakes. I made some actually good decisions, but I just want to thank you all for being here. But with that out of the way, I want to talk about Cookie Run Kingdom, because I've been playing that game since like early March, and I'm finally like getting into like the real like story. I did all the gamble. I've done a lot of the gambling. I've done a lot of went through the story, but now I'm actually hunkering down and taking the story one by one, a little bit at a time. Recently, with the new update with Eternal Sugar, new BC's chapter, and then there's going to be another one coming up because they hit us with the to be continued. And I was just kind of in the bathroom talking to myself as one would, of course, and I was realizing that like the ancients and like the beast storyline is actually like pretty cool. I think it's so interesting. And then I was kind of just like trying to debate with myself, like, okay, what do I think are my favorite ancients? Because my favorite cookie in the game is Burning Spice Cookie. I think he's really cool. Some other contenders include Black Lemonade, Squid Ink, and because I watched Last Cookie Standing, Cream Unicorn, among a couple others. But those are really the ones I would say are some of my favorite cookies in the game. Now, notice how I didn't mention any ancients. Now, I don't hate the ancients. I just don't think, as of right now, this can change in the future. But I just don't think they're my favorite cookies. Although I have started, like I said, I've started to grow an affinity towards them, and I actually really like their stories. So I just kind of wanted to talk about that. So like I was figuring out like who my favorite cookie was, and I think I have it down. So Pure Vanilla Cookie, who you can literally think of, if you haven't played Cookie Run Kingdom, you could think of it as the Jesus equivalent in this universe, basically, right? So Pure Vanilla Cookie is my favorite cookie design-wise, or my favorite ancient. I'm talking about like ancients right now, because like in regards to ancients, it's my favorite cookie. He's my favorite cookie design-wise. Especially his awakened form. I really like his awakened form. I think it's so like I love big robes. I don't think I talked about fashion a lot on this channel, but I like big robes. I think big robes are like really cool. Sorry, I'm just preparing myself for so much yapping. I had to drink my yappuccino, aka my water in my big jug. But I really like his design. I really like it a lot. I really like the fact that his staff is basically how he sees. and I've seen some videos, and I like this idea where like he doesn't have a staff and he's just completely blind. It's similar to Shadow Milk, that's his beast counterpart. So with every ancient, there's a beast counterpart, and the beasts are rare for some reason. I have no idea why. I thought they were the same. I thought they were the same like rarity, or yeah, really the same rarity, but whatever, right? It's like how, because in Shadow Milk, his eyes are there's some eyes in his hair, and that like, oh, you cut it off, he's like just completely blind. It's a neat little idea, but yeah. And then there's a cookie called Dark Cacao. Yeah, I went through his story because that was actually the last world I had, or the last episode of BC I had finished, because I finished a lot of it up until, because I kind of went around. I kind of went around a bit, but I like finished the new Hollyberry and Eternal Sugar storyline. Well, part one of it. I'm still, as of recording, having to wait for the second part, but man, Dark Cacao is my favorite character, like story wise. Like that was a trip. Now I've sort of skimmed past stories, but I'm aware of like the stories that have been that have like BCs and such. And oh my gosh, Dark Cacao's freaking brutal, dude. There's a moment that like actually almost brought me to tears. And now I'm gonna let you guys know this right now. I'm not a very emotional person. That's something I've been trying to work on as I've grown up. Like I've always been like there's a lot of social stuff that I just don't understand in regards to emotion. Like I don't care if like I could care less about a lot of animals, especially dogs. I do not like dogs. I'm not even like that. That's not even a joke. Like I just do not like. I just don't understand the hype for dogs. But I do But I do like black cats and sea otters. I think sea otters are cool too. But that's besides the point. Basically, I've not really been that much of an emotional person, and that is something that I've been working on through high school and now as I go through college. But but what happened in that story was actually so brutal, and it's not even like, actually it was with the in episode 4, which is sort of the second part of the storyline. It starts in episode 3, ends in episode 4, whatever, right? I always, for one, his Dark Cacao's interactions with his beast counterpart, Mystic Flower, is so interesting to me. I think Mystic Flower. Now, keep in mind, I did the Eternal Sugar storyline before I finished Dark Cacao's. So when I see Mystic Flower, or when I saw her like motivations, like her actual motivations, like in the story, I could not help but be reminded of Eternal Sugar Cookie. I just think their things are very similar. Now I have no idea what Shadow Milk's is. I just know that Elder Fairy has trapped him in a tree, and he's mad, and he wants to. Oh wait, no, isn't his? Well, there's that, but isn't the whole? I don't remember. Actually, don't know. Is it? I think his whole thing. Now, take this with a grain of salt, but I think his whole thing was that like, it's like, oh, people lie. He's like Dr. House. It's like, oh, everybody lies, so I must be the liar myself. I just know that the beasts are just like fallen heroes. People, and it's not like and it's not like the devil, but it's more so just like they wanted to. Well, for the most part, they wanted to help out the cookie so much that it just turned into corruption. I know there's exceptions. Burning Spice's whole thing is that like the kingdoms rose and fell and rose and fell. And it happened so much in his lifetime that he was like, why do I need to rule a kingdom? It's just going to fall anyways. I'm just going to destroy it anyways. And I think that's so interesting of a thing. He's basically saying, yeah, why make my bed right now when I wake up in the morning when I'm just going to sleep in it, when I'm just going to lay on it all day? Why take a shower now when I could take a shower later? Why, he's like procrastination taken to an extreme. It's so interesting, but not Dark Cacao. Mystic Flower and Eternal Sugar's motivations are nearly identical. They both want to create a paradise for cookies, quote unquote. The only difference I feel that I can see is that with Mystic Flower, she wants cookies to feel better by making them feel nothing, whereas Eternal Sugar wants to make cookies feel better by making them feel everything. Mystic Flower, I feel, wants them to feel something by doing, or feel nothing by doing something. Okay? Whereas Eternal Sugar, I feel, is the opposite. It's, where she wants to more so make them feel something by doing nothing. They're very similar to me. That's basically the point I'm trying to get at. Like, in my opinion, they're similar. I could just be missing the bigger picture, but who knows, right? All art and storytelling is made of interpretations. Trying to objectify something is going to lead you down a path of just being wrong. I don't know. You can try to objectify stuff, but you try to objectify the subjective, then you're just gonna go crazy, I feel. And so are the people who are trying to listen to you. But I digress. Those two I feel like are like nearly the same character. Nearly. Because I understand their motivations and I understand why they're so different. And they are different. I just think the way they're going about it can be funneled down to just, I want to make these cookies feel better about this sucky life that they're in. Because Mystic Flower cookie, though, is like absolute. They're both scary. Don't get me wrong. They're both. I think Hollyberry's story is like, it's sort of a remix of Dark Cacao. Like, it's almost like, it's very similar. But it's so, I don't know how to explain it. I just think the stories, albeit similar, still invoke this like really like dark feeling. Like it's really, you're almost scared by it. Like you're almost, especially Mystic Flower. Her whole thing is doing the Black Plague, except instead of people succumbing to the Black Plague, they're turning. This is actually what she wants. This is verbatim. She wants all the cookies to go back to Flower. That is the craziest thing I ever heard. That is the most like Pokemon villain of the game type stuff. That's something like Giovanni from Team Rocket would do. Who's the one? Is it Gatis? Is Gatis the one who wanted to basically reset the world and have Pokemon like and have it just be inhabited by Pokemon? I know Team Magma and Team Aqua were the ones that's basically just... Team Aqua is basically just another Flood. Like, Flood, Pokemon, live again. Like Flood's already been done, little bro. And then Magma is just like, yeah, let's expand the land so that Pokemon can live, more Pokemon can live. Or something like that. I haven't really played those games, but that's basically what it reminds me of. What's his name? Cyrus. This is some Cyrus type stuff. This is some Team Rocket's like, yeah, I want to like sell the Pokemon on the black market, and then Gatis is over here like, I want to reset the world. Which that motivation is really funny to me. But how they did it with Mystic Flower is doing that, but I think with Mystic Flower, it's so scary. Because remember, these are cookies. So like returning to flour remember, in human terms, when somebody is crumbling, it just means they're dying. Like, I will not crumble. It literally just, if you replace crumble with die, that's what's happening. There's a moment in the fourth episode where Dark Cacao has to climb up all these steps like he's Po from Kung Fu Panda 1. And he's getting to a point where like he's about to falter. Like he's about to there were times like because I would click on the level, then it would like give the whole exposition before I like whoop some flower monsters up. But it genuinely had me worried for him. I was thinking he was just gonna die. Like I think that's so impressive that it makes me think such a way. But there was a moment, there were a couple moments in the story where I thought it was so interesting. One of the ones was when he came up to these like dumpling creatures. I don't know if they're ghosts. I think they were, but who knows, right? I don't know. Probably the wiki. But basically, he meets these people on his climb up, and they're playing Go. I think they're playing Go, and you know, I'm trying to major in English, so I'm like thinking, okay, how do I analyze? I'm thinking in the back of my head, well, I'm enjoying the story first of all, like I'm just enjoying it for as is, but I'm also thinking like I see some of the dialogue options. My inner English major, like I'm Ludwig, comes out, and it's just like they would say something like, "Oh, you're playing very defensively," and that's the whole thing with like. And by the way, the whole thing with Dark Cacao is that he's like always trying to fortify. He's always fortifying, and like he's always fortifying his kingdom, and like always on guard. And so in the Go thing, they were like, "Oh, you're playing defensive now, are you?" And so they would just and then they beat him, but the scene literally perfectly encapsulated Dark Cacao, I feel. And it's so interesting that they chose Go, because you could have chose like chess, right? But with Go, you capture territory. Like, oh, they were saying like, oh, this territory's captured, this one, and I won. And they hit him with the, you know how Pedro Pascal was like, and you should know this too. They hit that, but with like, they were saying something along the lines of, yeah, you seem to be like in the defensive position, but you never go on the offensive. But you do that with your kingdom, don't you? They like lean in and such. That's what I imagine. It's so interesting. I thought that was really cool. But I think one of my favorite moments, besides like the like symbolism in like the interactions and even like his interactions with Mystic Flower, both when she's not there and when she is there, or like when they are like together and then like when they're not, like physically anyways. It was this moment in between like when he met the dumpling people and when he met like Mystic Flower. This was like on his climb up. And he just sees this like peach tree. And there's this random cookie that's on here. He's like, yo. By the way, in Cookie Run Kingdom, there are a lot of characters where you would not know the gender unless I told you. So if you look up Peach Blossom, you're not going to believe me when I say that he's a guy. But whatever, right? Peach Blossom Cookie. This dude comes up and is like, take a peach. And this was at a point where Dark Cacao was like at his most tired. He was super tired. I could only imagine having to climb up all those steps in the armor and the big old sword, and while his like heads are fuming, you know, like steam going out of his ears pretty much. I could only imagine how tiring and stressful that must have been, especially because his whole thing is that he felt like the whole kingdom was just on his shoulders. He had the weight of the whole kingdom like on his shoulders. So he had to he was feeling very like tired and hungry and thirsty and all that stuff. And then here's this random peach tree on the climb up, and he just and the peach blossoms hitting us with this grows every 3,000 years, like, which puts into question how old he is, but it doesn't really expanded upon other than that. So they're just kind of chilling. He's hesitant, but at some point like actually like eats it, and he feels better. And then Peach Blossom, they still talk to each other for a little bit, and then he just leaves, which I think is so interesting. Bro literally sees somebody coming up the steps, offers a peach, talks, leaves, and refuses to elaborate, which that is so interesting. Bro's gone like the wind. He's gone with the wind probably, because given how high up he is, I can only imagine that with a lot of the mental baggage that has in his head and in his heart, because there's also the subplot with him like fighting with his son. I mean, in the normal world exploration in Crispia, which is like the normal area, or like it's the continent you're in before you go to BCs. His whole thing was that his son was trying to go against them. He was like with licorice and pomegranate and poison and the gang, right? And so, and I think that's so interesting, and I think it's one of those interactions I feel where I feel like it doesn't really need to have a story importance. It's sort of, or it doesn't have one, but like not by itself. It's like agar. It's like like agar, how like it's tasteless, but like you put it with something and it actually has flavor. That's what I feel like the story is, or the part of the story is. I feel like this part of the story is sort of just agar you would put in like boba or whatever, where like by itself, it's just a neat little interaction. It's something that someone in the fandom would probably make with their favorite character. However, I think within the context of the whole story, what has come before and what is going to come after, I think it works very well. I definitely think it works very well. And it sort of helps bolster like the whole arc that he has to go through. And this is near the top, so this is like that bit of strength that he kind of needed, because he was like pretty tired as well when he finally got to Mystic Flower, when he finally got to the top of the mountain. And I really like this story. I genuinely suggest like playing the game yourself, or if you don't want to play the game, try to watch it on YouTube. Like try to watch just like the cutscenes on YouTube. Because I genuinely think this is the best storyline in Cookie Run, in my opinion. As someone who's played the game for less than 3 months at this point, I think it's the best story, and that's why I think Dark Cacao is my favorite story-wise. But the other cookies, from what I've seen, also have some pretty banger stories. Like Golden Cheese's story is so interesting as well. But I can't really talk about that because I skipped a lot of it. But I skipped half of it. I know that her kingdom's like fake, and like and Burning Spice is like, and then Burning Spice is like defeated, but he's like pretty chill about it. He's like, yes, I've been defeated. Let's go, baby. Stuff like that. But speaking of Golden Cheese, though, I actually had a hard time figuring out what she was my favorite in, because her and Hollyberry are very similar to me. Not necessarily in like character, actually in personality. It's very much in personality. They have this like, they're both queens, but they have this like, not pompous, because they're not really pompous, but this over the top personification of themselves, I think. Because Golden Cheese thinks of her as like herself as like a god, and she's like very like greedy. But that's like the basics of her character. That is not the only thing she is. Let me tell you that, because she's actually a lot more than what I just explained. I just need to go back through her story or like watch it on some YouTube, and I suggest you guys watch it as well, because I'm gonna do a really bad job. I have been doing a really bad job describing like Cookie Run Kingdom lore. So yeah, but if you want to hear me explain it really badly, then watch the video still, I guess. I don't know. Maybe you guys clicked off already. I wouldn't know. I'm simply just a voice on your phone or your computer or your PS5 or your Nintendo Switch or your BlackBerry. I have no idea. I just hope you're enjoying the video nonetheless. Or your 3DS. Don't think I forgot about you. Anyways. Golden Cheese, I think I like... I don't know. Because between her and Holly Berry, I really like their character and their personality. And there's a difference. Personality is a facet. It's a part of the character as a whole. But I'm going to have to say that I really like her personality the best. I really like that she's just the loud one. But so is Holly Berry. But I think I like Holly Berry's character as a whole. Her personality is similar to Golden Cheese, and that's why I like it. But I think her sort of role, I think of her as sort of she's that one friend in the friend group who has to like basically act as the therapist, because everybody just has like different sets of trauma. But even if everybody has different sets of trauma, then like Holly Berry's the one that is Holly Berry's the... I lost my train of thought. I was like playing with the chair with my foot, and it like fell. I don't know if you can hear that. I will take this time to drink water. You should drink water too. I highly recommend pausing the video. I'll give you 5 seconds to do that, to pause the video and such, before I continue. Alright, there's your 5 seconds. Anyways, as I was saying, Holly Berry, I like her... I like her personality, and I like how she's basically the therapist. That like, even though everybody has all this like different set of trauma, she's somehow the one to basically... what's it called? She's basically the one who can like help them out. But I think that makes her character as a whole so interesting, because to my knowledge... there isn't really anybody to help her out. That's sort of the story right now with Eternal Sugar, that she's sort of carrying the burdens of not just her friends, the ancients, but also just her kingdom in general. That she's carrying all the burdens of those people, and that's actually why. Actually, no. I was gonna say spoiler, but like I said, you should go watch a cutscene, or the cutscenes, or play the game yourself, to really get what I'm talking about. But I will try to keep this as spoiler free as I can, because I just need you to actually go check it out for yourself. Because like I said, I do a really bad job at explaining stuff. But with that being said, there's a moment where something happens because of basically there's Eternal Sugar, and all the beasts have their like little sidekicks, right? They have their little sidekicks and like henchmen and such, and there's this one cookie, Pavlova, who's the sidekick to Eternal Sugar. Pavlova does something to Holly Berry at a certain point, and it's a big point, and it's like really massive. Like it's pretty big in regards to like the story and her character as a whole. And the very reason that Pavlova is able to do this action, but not some other cookie who's a higher rarity, is because Holly Berry was basically subdued. She basically let her guard down in the Garden of Sloth. In regards to Eternal Sugar Cookie. Um, because this, because with Holly Berry, like I said, she's basically the therapist of the group, and she has to rule a kingdom. So it's so it is so it was so shocking. Not as shocking as when Dark Cacao told his son, and I quote, "My biggest regret is ever calling you my son." That is a line that has hit me like a truck. That is actually the like I mean it when I say that that is the most greatly written thing in the game, in in my opinion, in a lot in media as a whole. That is actually, and then he repeats this. Dark Cacao like sort of result because his whole thing is their whole thing. Dark Cacao and Mystic Flower, their whole thing is resolution versus apathy. Sort of the reaction of like, something happens. Do you want to be indifferent to it or do you want to actually do something about it? So he eventually like reconciles with this. I think he reconciles with the son. I want to say so. And well, he reconciles with the son for a bit, and then his son is gone, and then he realizes that the son helped him, or helped with like the disease, the white plague, as I like to call it. Helped with some herbs because the herbs were like rare or something. So he helped out with that, but yeah. But with Eternal Sugar, yeah, or with Holly Berry, her whole thing is that it's very similar with like the whole like stresses of like her kingdom and like, but it's also with like with her friends too, because she's really the only like mentally stable one. I think I don't know. They're all mentally stable, or I don't know about all of them, but they're stable in some way or another. Pure Vanilla is just kind of a chill guy, but I think Hollyberry's the one who has to sort of help him realize that. She's like she's that aunt who comes over and is like super excited to like see her nephews and nieces. She's like, yeah! Oh my gosh, mama, you've grown so much. That sort of aunt. She's the person on the game show that like screams for like really loudly, like that one song by Linkin Park where Chester does like that like 17-second scream. It's very similar to that. That's the vibe I get from Holly Berry. She's the really cool aunt, in my opinion. But she's the aunt that like has the trauma of like her father and her mother and like her family as a whole, and has to like sort of keep the family in balance. She's basically like she's the Spanish equivalent of in a lot of black families, she's the black aunt, but for Spanish people, that would probably be the matriarch or the patriarch of the family. However, that still comes with a lot of burden to bear for other people while also having to bear your own cross. So how it played out in the story, I think, was so interesting, and I think it like because I didn't really like Holly Berry. But then again, I focused on ancients that are like good, like game wise, mechanic wise, and I still think she's the worst ancient game wise, and a lot of tier lists seem to agree with me. But I still think character wise, she's really good. She's probably my favorite ancient, like hands down. I like Wars. Pure Vanilla's design is really cool. I like the story in Dark Cacao, and I think Golden Cheese has a really great personality. I think Holly Berry is very well rounded. She's the sort of glue that holds the group together, despite her implied alcoholism, which that is a huge point of her character. She drinks berry juice, which is literally just it's a reference for alcohol. So yeah, and then White Lily, I have no idea what to say about her because I don't really like her either. she's not that I like completely absolutely despise of her. I just don't think she's been fleshed out. But she's the last one who needs the because when the ancients defeat the beasts, they get their awakened form. Or no, not when they defeat the beast. It's when they realize something. They have that like cool and epic realization, and then that's when they get their awakened form. And they typically get it in like the second part of their story. Hollyberry, she's about to get that, and then they're probably gonna do something with White Lily. I don't really want to talk about White Lily because there's a pretty important part of her character that is so interesting and that I wish they would expand upon when they eventually release Silent Salt, who is her beast counterpart, who's White Lily's beast counterpart. So I can't really say that because it is actually like a really big part of the I would say it's a big part of the story, but also like about her character. But I'm going to describe it like this. Here's how I'm going to describe it, and take with it what you will. In Kirby lore, you have this being, and this being basically splits into two beings based on, or basically it creates a being based on personality, or something along those lines. I'm a little fuzzy on the Kirby lore, but the basics of it is that there's these two beings that were made out of hatred and goodness. Kirby is the one who's made of goodness, who's like the good one, and Void Termina, or Void, I think it's Void, I can't remember which version it is, but I think it's just Void. Void is basically the bad incarnation, right? So you could think of Kirby and Void as the sort of two sides of the same coin. They're like clones of each other, if you will. That is White Lily. And I will not say more than that. You will have to figure out what I mean. And if you've played the game, and if you've seen the cutscenes, or if you've read about it on the wiki, if you know anything about like the game and like specifically about White Lily, you're gonna know exactly what I'm talking about. For those who don't know, I highly implore you to go check out a cutscene like on YouTube or something, or to go play the game yourself. Because the game is a really cool game. It's a very like turn your brain off for a bit, do some quests, do some gambling, and then head off. And I like that. I don't have to stress in the game that much. And let me tell you, after playing Brawl Stars a lot recently and grinding, it's good that I can get that little mental break by doing that, and then maybe watching some stuff on YouTube. Like I'm watching this Russian series, this Russian animation, like Russian indie animation called 13 Copped, or 13 Cards, and that's a very chill series. I really like the series. It's actually right now it's currently getting its English dub. The first episode is already in the English dub, and there's some. If you know the games and like stuff, you're gonna know who the characters are, or who the voice actors are, but it's similar to that, where it's just like, yeah, I would kind of not that I have to turn my brain off to enjoy it, but more so because, excuse me, the water is making me react in a bad way. That's how you know that I'm a true gamer, a true cookie runner, a true cookie run kingdomer. Because water is making me react in such a way that I don't like. But anyways. Yeah, the ancients are really cool. I really like the beasts. I understand that the story, the basics of the story is K-Count, and then go kill somebody, I don't know. Or sorry, go crumble somebody. Crumble their dough, as they say. You translate that to humans, that is a crazy statement, let me tell you. But yeah, those are just my thoughts that I wanted to talk about for like the ancients and the beasts, because I really like the concept of the ancients and the beast, and I wonder if there's going to be some redemption arc in the future for the beast, because I would like because at the end of the day the beasts are just like the whole lore is that the five beasts were sort of like the five heroes, but then they got like corrupted through various means. I think of them as the ancients. They're the ancients who fallen. That's who I think of them as. But I still like the beasts. I think they're so. I love their designs. I love how they work in the game, and I really like their lore, and I really like how the ancients and beasts are sort of similar. They're sort of like, it reminds me of Megamind almost, where it's like Megamind and Metro Man, sort of like those like two sides of the same coin sort of thing. Like, oh, you should be bad for it. Well, no, not like that, but it's sort of like that. How they like interact with each other despite similar beginnings. How they're like so different. And yeah, Cookie Run Kingdom's a pretty cool game. And very deep too. Like these BC stories are like the most philosophical like things like I've ever seen. And this is now this game isn't for kids, it's for like 14 years old enough. But I cannot imagine being a sophomore in high school, or like a freshman and sophomore in high school, and you just have this like this is a game about cookies. They run, and you have a kingdom. And you have cookies being like, we need to return to our roots. We need to return to our flower. You have one cookie saying that, and then you have their counterpart being like, my biggest regret ever is calling you my son. You have another one that's just like, things get built and then they fall. So I'm just going to make things fall because they're going to fall anyways. And then like the stuff in between is literally the most like biblically, like, it reminds me, some of these stories literally remind me of the Bible. Eternal Sugar Cookie literally just reminds me of like the whole Garden of Sloth just reminds me of the Garden of Eden. But like her whole thing is that she's a devil in disguise. So like these are the most and this is a game about like cookies, bro. And don't get me started on the advertisements that the English team have done, but despite all that, I think it's a really cool mobile game, and I'm free to play in that game, but you could still get unlike Brawl Stars, you can actually get far being a free to play player. Despite Cookie Run Kingdom arguably shoving more purchases in your face, but I digress. I highly recommend you guys play the game. If not, watch the cutscenes to figure out what the heck I'm talking about, or the edits. Edits are always the pretty cool ones. I'm seeing one. I've been seeing the edit with Golden Cheese Cookie and Burning Spice. That's to that Bubble Guppy song, about the flightless bird. Like, what law does makes it that a bird absolutely has to fly? Why can't they fly? I think I thought that was a pretty cool one. And then that same person's made some edits about, and it's very interesting, some theories. But yeah, that's sort of all I wanted to talk about in regards to Ancients, Beasts, Cookie Run, Kingdom. I know I've been thinking about playing like Oven Break, but it just does not look that interesting to me. The reason I like Cookie Run Kingdom is because I can just blaze through the game and do some gambling and stuff while also doing some other like mini games on the side depending on the event. And like, you know, even if I have nothing to do today, I could just get on there for like 30 minutes. Actually, not even 30 minutes. I get on there for like 10 minutes. I do my dailies and it's like, okay, I'm just going to let my like stamina refill up so that I can go through the game some more. I like that. And so Oven Break would require me to do a lot more, but who knows? Maybe I should start playing Oven Break for the channel, and yeah, perchance. But yeah, that's really all. thanks for watching, and I guess I'll see you next time. See ya.